I'm going to preview the Baylor at Arizona men's basketball game, which will be played on January 14th at 10 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. I apologize if I'm looking up because I cannot memorize all this stuff. And I will make mention up front. I do not know whether Langston Love or Jalen Celestine for Baylor will play in this game. They're both day to day. As of like last game, one of them has an ankle soreness, I believe, and the other one just has an ankle. So, and there's an Arizona player that's out for the year, supposedly. You'll know who that is in the description below, and I'll put the stats there. Now, I'm going to make mention of the records. So, Baylor's 11-4 in the year, 3-1 in the Big 12, while Arizona 10-5 overall, but 4-0 in the Big 12. That definitely have surprised me. And Baylor's most recent result was against Arizona State at Arizona State, where they won in overtime, 72-66, and that was their first road win of the year. They were due for a road win eventually, and it's so good to have that road win. And it's never easy to win on the road. Now Arizona, they're coming off a win against UCF, but it was 88-80. We all know that Arizona was struggling in the non-con a little bit. They defeat TCU, but TCU is not that good at home. They did defeat back-to-back ranked opponents in Cincinnati, which I know they're reeling. They're 0-4 in the Big 12 now, and West Virginia, and that's a West Virginia team that beat Kansas at Kansas, and they won pretty easily against them. So, of course, we know Baylor's only loss was to Iowa State pretty easily. Well, besides Baylor beating Arizona State, they beat Utah at home. They beat Cincinnati at home, and that's it. Iowa State was just the only loss, and it was a blowout. The good news is Arizona is not necessarily like an Iowa State in this type of game, and I'm doing this ahead of time. So, once the new AP poll for Division I men's basketball comes out, I'll instantly release it. We'll see whether or not Baylor's just a receiving votes team or a ranked team, but at least Arizona is going to be receiving votes. They got to be receiving more votes. They got to be, in my opinion. It's more like, will they be ranked? I don't know about being ranked for them, but it's something to make note. So, what are some players to keep an eye on for Arizona? And I cannot memorize all this stuff, y'all, so I apologize if I'm looking down. And there's one guy that we're familiar with from the 2022 NCAA tournament, and that's Caleb Love. Number 1, 6'4", 205-pound guard. That's a senior. 15.8 points per game, 31.9% on threes on 116 attempts. 87.2% on free throws on 39 attempts, 4.5 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, 1.9 turnovers per game, 1.2 steals per game, 1.1 fouls per game. Jane Bradley, number 0, 6'3", 200-pound guard. That's a junior, 11.6 points per game, 32.9% on threes on 28 attempts, 76.5% on free throws on 51 attempts, 3.4 rebounds per game, 3.6 assists per game, 1.8 turnovers a game, 2 steals per game, 1.7 fouls per game. That's KJ Lewis, number 5, 6'4", 205-pound guard. That's a sophomore. 10.6 points per game, 22.2% on threes on 27 attempts, 84.3% on free throws on 51 attempts, 4.3 rebounds per game, 2.7 assists per game, 2 turnovers per game, 1.5 steals per game, 0.7 blocks per game. Yeah, he could block shots. And 2.4 fouls per game. And there's Trey Townsend. He was actually at Oakland last year, so he's a grad transfer. Number 4, 6'6", 228-pound forward. That's a senior. 9.6 points per game. 22.7% on threes on 22 attempts. 80.6% on free throws on 36 attempts. 4.3 rebounds per game. 1.7 turnovers per game. 1.1 fouls per game. Anthony Del Orso, number 3, 6'6", 109-pound guard. That's a junior. 9.1 points per game. 43.9% on threes on 57 attempts. 83.3% on free throws on 33 attempts, 0.7 turnovers per game, 0.6 steals per game, 0.9 fouls per game. There's Toby Awaka, number 30, 6'8", 250-pound forward. That's a junior. 7.6 points per game. 1 for 3 on 3. So not known as a 3-point shooter. It takes a lot of them. 55.9% on free throws on 34 attempts. 7.1 rebounds per game. 1.1 turnovers per game. 2.7 fouls per game. Henry VCR. VEESAAR. And I apologize if I butchered that. Number 13. 7 foot, 225-pound forward. That's a sophomore. 7.4 points per game. 27.8% on threes on 18 attempts. 68.4% on free throws on 38 attempts. 4.7 rebounds per game. 0.1 turnovers per game. 0.6 steals per game. 0.8 blocks per game. 2.4 fouls per game. And I'm going to mention only like 3 more players from here, just to make things clear. I know there's more players than that, but there's no need to mention them all here. In Carter Bryant, number 9, 6'8", 220-pound forward as a freshman. 5.4 points per game, 30.6% on threes on 36 attempts, 52.6% on free throws on 19 attempts, 3.2 rebounds per game, 0.6 turnovers per game, 1 steal per game, 1.8 fouls per game. Conrad Martinez, number 55, 6 foot, 165-pound guard. That's a sophomore. 2.4 points per game, 3 for 6 on threes, 7 for 8 on free throws, which is 87.5%, and 0.7 fouls per game. And Emmanuel Steven, number 34, 7 foot, 210-pound center. That's a freshman. 2 points per game, 0 for 2 on free throws, and 1 foul per game. Yeah, no threes attempted. So obviously, whatever you did right last game, you got to bring into this game. Whatever you did wrong last game, you got to correct it for this game right here. And I consider this road trip a successful road trip no matter what, given that you didn't win any road games prior. But obviously it would be huge to steal another game on the road. And to help yourself in the conference standings, you need to win another road game. Steal another one, and this would be huge. Because that we do play them one more time this year, and you get them at home the following time. So I'm just making mention of that. It's a huge game for both of these teams for conference standings and obviously for NCAA tournament. I do think Arizona is playing themselves back in the NCAA tournament. I do think they are because what they've done in conference. But it's still a long way to go, folks. You got to limit your foul trouble while getting them in foul trouble. You got to adjust to the officiating because, look, you cannot control what they're doing and you got to make plays to win, man. Just got to. You got to adjust on the fly to the opponent. Like, not just from first half to second half, but during those halves. During, like, timeout to timeout, possession by possession. You get the point here. So, that's just making a mention right there. You got to out-hustle the other team. I mean, that's just telling the truth. Now, defensively, you got to get on them on the three-point line. And I would dare to say, make those three-point shooters take long twos instead. I'm not saying give them layups, but make it so uncomfortable offensively. Give them poor slot selection. Force turnovers. Obviously, you want to limit your points on turnovers and points in the paint and three-pointers, and don't let them live at the free throw line. I mean, it kind of goes with the foul situation, too. So, yeah. That's another thing to make mention here, and it'll obviously be huge to get like some blocks too, but of course you got to be smart about it. I mean, that's the thing. And you got to rebound the ball. You got to limit the second chance points, of course, too, as well. I mean, because sometimes that is the difference in the game, you know, and you got to out rebound them in this game. I mean, and make them inefficient offensively as much as possible, and make them miserable, and and another thing across the board, try to take the crowd out of this game as much as possible for the Arizona fans out there. I'm just saying. Now, I will say offensively, you got to obviously you got to get some points on turnovers because sometimes your best offense comes from your defense. You get some fast break points. You got to do a better job in that defensively going into this game here. You got to get some points in paint, like whether it's like a Norchad O'Meara drive or post up or dish it down to somebody down lower or get a dunk. or an alley-oop, but you get the whole point. Gotta get some points in the paint, take good shots, take care of the ball. You gotta rebound because that does make a difference to get some second chance points and get some second chance points. Also, you gotta try to take good 3-point shots, and if you could shoot good from 3-point line, again, that would be really helpful. But if your shot's not going down, go to the basket. I mean, that's just telling the truth, and take good quality shots, whether it's from mid-range or three or to the rim. I mean, it's just telling the truth. You got to make your free throws count because it does help close out games, and you got to be really good late game execution wise, both offensively and defensively. That's another thing I got to mention here. And one thing is, don't let up on the big leads. When you have a lead, protect it. I mean, even if I know they get close, try to extend it right back. I mean, that's the thing. So, and I'm gonna just make like a mention to all. I got be ball tough, especially in those late game situations, side out bounds, underneath your own basket or an opposing basket, trying to go the other way. If Joshua Juwuna could rebound like he did last game, that would be helpful. Of course, finishing around the rim as well. So, and if Norchad Omier could step up, and hopefully he does not get in foul trouble so early, both in the first half and the second half. I mean, that would really be helpful because Baylor's better when he's on the court. I mean, I'm not just talking about the points wise, but rebounding wise as well. I mean, hopefully VJ Edgecombe shoots better overall from the field, but he did make 3 out of 6 on threes. So if he can make 3-point shots, that would really be helpful because that only adds another dimension to his game. That look, he could drive to the basket, he could hit mid-range shots, he can make tough shots. I mean, that's another weapon in his arsenal. And hopefully Jay Nunn takes good shots still like he did last game. At least he's not trying to force anything. Like, he got 5 free throws and he made all 5 of them. I mean, and hopefully Jeremy Roach has a better game shooting the ball wise, not just in all areas. Not just from the field, not just from the 3-point line, not just from the free throw line, but all areas. So, and hopefully Robert Wright steps up in this type of game, especially if Langston Love is out again, which that's TBD. Same thing goes for Jalen Celestine, but if Jalen Celestine can't go, then you gotta rely on Jason Asamoah. And I know he might not be necessarily a scoring threat at times, but if he just does his role, that like whether it's on offense or rebounding, or I mean just on defense rebounding, that's fine. And I think he can be a weapon offensively down the line. It's just he's just got to take good shots in those situations. But if nothing else, he could just be like a good screener and try to get his teammates involved in other ways. So, yeah, he doesn't have to necessarily score to be effective because in that Cincinnati game, he had a really good plus-minus. So, and obviously if Jason Celestine plays, it would be helpful. Same thing goes for Langston Love. So, you got to get some bench points. Some of them. Not like it. Because I don't know how many guys are going to play off the bench necessarily. Obviously, you want to try to limit that for Arizona. And try to make them shoot inefficient from the game. I mean, yeah, BJ Freeman from Arizona State last game got 22 points. But guess what? It was on 19 shots and he only made like 8 of them. So, you did make him inefficient. I mean, and obviously getting the foul trouble on the best guys for Arizona would be huge in this type of game. And I know there's not a lot of guys from that team a few years ago, but let's go out and beat Caleb Love. I'm serious. I mean, that's got to be a factor a little bit, but not much. I don't know how much of a factor because not all those guys he's played against them. Obviously, Langston Love was on the team at that time, as we all know, but he couldn't play because of torn ACL. But you get the picture. So, yeah, try to make them not shoot that good from three. And if they do make some contested threes, so be it. But make them difficult. I mean, try to make those look so hard. And you got to communicate well on defense as well. So, enough about this game here. And we'll see about the injuries for Baylor and Jones, Celestine, and Langston Love. So, anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. See you guys later on the road to subscribers. Course, ultimate goal. It's 1,000 more. Some more money at this course. Like video, comment video really helps YouTube algorithms. Some more people see it. Sharing the video does help as well. Some more people could watch. And if you're watching and not subscribed, hit subscribe button for the notification bell as well. And at worst case, this is a receiving votes versus receiving votes game, but it might be like ranked versus receiving votes. I don't know how much of a jump will Arizona make to be a ranked team, but if they do, I would not be shocked because they are on a roll right now.